I'm first of all delighted for the invitation to be part of this. I think really great event, really good idea in terms of how to reward students for their excellent hard work, and some really fantastic ideas.
Was the contrasting views between religious exclusivism and universalism. So exclusivism is where one believes that if you're from any other religion that you're eternally doomed, and obviously this is generally seen as a really old-fashioned view, so my research and my project is all for people willing to accept a universalist future, accepting anyone whether they're religious or non-religious.
So my project was a multi-faith community centre which included a food donation space and a homeless shelter, and the idea was to basically tackle kind of the modern religious issues, for example hate crime, and tackle it in a way that was sensitive to the city, culture and context of Coventry.
Got students with very imaginative ideas that obviously challenge what we see from our professional perspective, because we obviously on planning committee would many times find issues in things like that, but then you get the young people who actually have an imagination of seeing things differently, and I think what we need to do really is learn from them. That's the most important thing, I think.
My design brief was for a centre for military rehabilitation. The DNRC very much focuses on a medical perspective, whereas my building, I came from a lot more of a perspective of if you just leave voluntarily from the military, you don't get that much support, especially if you're not in that for that long. So your life skills and also your mental health can be quite lacking.
My project was based on veterans that have just come out of service, not necessarily with massive mental health issues, just a normal person that's voluntarily come out of service, that has maybe not got the best qualifications behind them and the best backing, and that needs to be reintegrated back into Civvy Street, as they would call it, or back into a normal community. My project was in Tottenham Hale, and they already had quite a strong community there anyway, so it was bringing the two communities together to show them both how they can support each other and how they can benefit each other.
Yeah, you can see that they took a lot of time to actually research it before they delved into the architectural relationship or the architectural design. So it wasn't like it was ill-conceived or an afterthought.
The idea is that you get a real sense of the scheme grafting into the site and growth. So it begins to break through and grow over the actual existing site and re-engage with the public surrounding the site. So what I'm going to do, because this is quite a difficult scale, I'm going to just delve into a few moments within the scheme to talk about. So this is an example of one of the living spaces, ground floor living space, where a family would come in, and above that central dining space is where that circulation would form, and that's, again, from there offset would be these shared spaces.
So my project was a co-housing scheme for single mother families suffering from cycles of statutory homelessness, and I suppose the other aim of the project was to really challenge urban typologies and how you can graft new developments into the urban context in new ways.
That way, I won't question what the percent is, but there is a large number who are that way because of domestic abuse, and therefore will have a lot of negative connotations.
Yeah.
Kind of mentioned earlier in terms of mental health problems. Did you have any way of considering if there might be certain places that they could go to accommodate women of this style? Was that not? Would that be a different place they would?
My project was about addressing homelessness and how architecture and specifically self-build projects could have a role to play in potentially relieving some of the issues and hardships that homeless people feel and paving a way for potentially rehabilitating them into society.
As a landscape architect, I think it's interesting that they all had this little bit of nature creeping in. I think that's where the world is kind of shifting, hopefully, where we would kind of respond more to the basic needs of our kind of psychology, and the kind of green space is a good thing to have.
So another key fact from this page here is that the reoffending rate in the UK is 81%. So 81% of people that go into prison will come out and reoffend, whereas the reoffending rate in Norway is 6%. So a lot of this was looking at what can happen in Norway compared to England.
So my project was essentially a vessel for exploring neurodiverse inclusive design. So I looked at a building typology which has the worst inclusive design at the moment, and that is a prison. So amongst the UK population, 36% have some sort of neurological impairment, but this raises to 93% in a prison. So I felt like the best way to explore inclusive design for neurodiverse impairment is in a prison. So I created a controversial prison based in Nottinghamshire that would address these issues.
There was a number that really picked up on the strength of some of the sort of urban design, broader landscape elements, which you don't always see very early on. You know, my approach is very much about the integrity of all these architecture, urban design, landscapes. So it was really refreshing to see that tonight, yeah.